the undead plague carrier, the vampire, Nosferatu.
Hello, welcome back to Ycft. God, we haven't done one of these in a while. A little quick animated review. We have just got out of seeing Nosferatu. Directed by Robert Eggers. It is a remake / reimagining of the very famous 1922 film of the same name. It has had several other adaptations as well. It hasn't been adapted nearly as much as Dracula has over the years, but the source material this film is based on was Dracula. We're not going to go into the full story around that. A lot of people know that. We just want to give our quick thoughts on this new film. And this is going to be a spoiler-free review. We do want to do something more in-depth in the future because we think this film deserves it. There's so much that can be talked about that everyone is going to talk about. But we just want to put something out there for anyone who's curious about this film. It is best to go into it without knowing certain things. And we were very lucky that we had none of the film spoiled for us, even though it was released in the UK a few days later than it was in the US. We didn't even get to see what Bill Skarsgård's Count Orlok looked like before going into the film. And I am so happy that that was the case. So if you can, avoid spoilers. I know that's very difficult. So Sam, what did you think of Nosferatu?
Oh, I loved it. I really thoroughly enjoyed every single moment of this movie. And I'm also very, very grateful that we did not get any spoilers at all. All around, I think it is just superb. And now, having deep dived a little bit into the making of it in the very, very short time that we've had of coming out of the movie, quickly Googling Robert Eggers and the making of it and everything behind the scenes. I'm really happy for the guy because it seems like this is a very, very personal project in the sense that this has been a long time in the making. Turns out he's been wanting to make this movie for nigh on 10 years and...
I'd say his entire life.
Probably.
Since he first saw Nosferatu when he was 9 years old.
When he was 9, yeah. So it's important to him and I really think he's nailed it. The biggest thing I would say in, directly comparing it to 1922 is this is a film that it very much expands on what Murnau did over 100 years ago. Dynamics between certain characters have been expanded on for the better, I think, as well. I love everything that Eggers did with the screenplay. It really, really adds to the whole experience of it. Visually, this film is stunning. Anybody who knows our channel knows that I love anything gothic. I love anything inherently supernatural. So the set design, the production design is just beautiful. I loved it. It's so hard to do these reviews without instantly wanting to talk about specific scenes and specific characters because I do. I really, really do. There's, the physicality of Skarsgård, the design that they went for. I loved it. And yes, I'm so grateful that was not spoiled for me because I could talk about that choice endlessly. The cast were great. I think Lily Rose Depp just smashed it, completely smashed it.
I also really liked it. How do I follow on from that? You're right, the cast was phenomenal, and it kind of baffles me that we have Aaron Taylor-Johnson going from Kraven the Hunter to this in the space of a month. I thought he was also really good in this. I thought Nicholas Hoult was always really good. Willem Dafoe, come on. Bill Skarsgård gets completely lost in that role. You just see Orlok. But yeah, Lily Rose Depp really was the standout of this film. I think after a certain point, this movie just becomes her movie. She is the lead outside of Orlok. And yeah, she absolutely smashed it. Eggers has always been really good with his camera movements, his camera positioning. It's just filmed beautifully. The camera itself is a character leading you into situations that as a viewer you might not want to be a part of, but you're along for the ride anyway. And the lighting is gorgeous. Nighttime has never looked the way it looks in this film, which does lead to one thing that was on my mind as I was watching it. There are scenes in this film that are very dark. Darkness and shadows are a character in this film. But that does mean, I think, if you were ever to watch this film at home, depending on what your setup is, that you're not going to get the same effect. And I think a lot of those details are going to be lost. So I think if you really want to see this film, go see it on the big screen because the sound design is also fantastic. So you kind of want to be just encapsulated by the whole experience. But I do think it would still be a good film to watch at home, but I think you would lose a lot of that magic that you're going to get from watching it on the big screen.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's fair to say. I think for me, and this is not a criticism of the movie, it's just something that I noticed more so actually when the movie ended, is that obviously the original 1922 film has a lot of, very iconic moments, iconic shots that are just, ingrained into our consciousness, and specifically with Orlok as well. And I think this film is very faithful to that movie. As we say, it's just kind of expanded on a lot of the interdynamics with the characters. But I was perhaps expecting to see a few more of those iconic shots directly mirrored in the movie, which we didn't always necessarily see. But again, I'm not saying that as a criticism. And the fact that I didn't even really notice that until the end of the movie is really a testament to just how engrossed I was with the story and with the cinematography and with the shots that we were seeing. There was one particular scene or moment that I do kind of wish was in the movie that we didn't get to see. I won't reveal what that is specifically, but it's kind of near the beginning of the movie where Hutter is still on his journey to Orlok's castle. But again, that it's not a criticism, it's just an observation.
Yeah, I noticed as we were watching it, a lot of scenes I was expecting to see, I've done in a very different way, or just not done at all. And it did get me thinking, like, I have seen those scenes. Those scenes have been done very well in the past. And I do kind of respect him as a director for just making new scenes instead.
Yes.
And weirdly, in my mind, I kept thinking of Hammer, the Christopher Lee Dracula films, whilst watching this. Not that they're similar in tone in any way, but obviously this is set in Germany, but we have, this town is just full of Englishmen, like young, wealthy Englishmen, very much like the Hammer horror Dracula films. And also, as you pointed out, like those films would always lean in on like the Eastern European superstitions around, the dark castle that casts a shadow, and that is in this film as well. So I think there are a few themes that are linked back to those early Hammer films that I appreciated.
Definitely. The classic Hammer trope of, the Englishman arriving at a little pub or a little inn, and all of the locals immediately, suspicions are aroused. They don't like the Englishman. They don't like the foreigner. What are you doing here? Go away and leave us alone. Leave us alone to our own weird little customs. Yes, that is here. It's in this movie. Whether that was a deliberate choice by Eggers or not, I don't know. I don't know if he is a Hammer fan. I've never seen him give an interview about it. But maybe even if he's just subconsciously kind of imbued this movie with those very gothic Hammer tropes, I don't know. But yes, I loved it, and I did pick up on it as we were watching it.
There is some really cool stuff going on in this film. Like I say,
yes.
we've pointed out the line, but also like with the trained rats that they used for the film. I know Peter kind of went up in arms about the 5,000 trained rats, but even Robert Eggers said the rats in the foreground are real, and then as they teeter off towards the back, CG rats take over.
Yes.
So rats can be trained
to
do all sorts of things, and there's some pretty good rat actors in this film, and I want to, I can appreciate when stuff like that is still done, because it looks so good and it adds so much more to the world. It makes the world feel real, and you feel this plague following Orlok to this new land.
And yeah, I mean, hats off to the rat actors. They're always great. We love to see them. But yeah, the plague element to this one was done very well. It feels like as it's getting worse and worse and exacerbating, it feels dirty. It feels grimy. It feels filthy. I wouldn't say it's to the point, where it's grotesquely hard to watch, but there are certain scenes, I think, that will definitely give you the heebie-jeebies as far as, hygiene goes, or the lack of hygiene that there was in 1838 when the movie is set.
Also, we do know it wasn't the rats that spread the Black Plague, it was the fleas on the rats.
It was the fleas. We know the rats did not carry the plague. They've always had a disservice in history.
Yeah, but the rats are such a big part of the original film, you kind of have to include them. If you're not a fan of Eggers' work, this isn't going to be the film that wins you over. If you've seen his previous films, you kind of know what you're going to be letting yourself in for stylistically. I guess I think some audience members might find the film a bit slow.
It's a slow bit.
It's not like it's an action-filled film. It is a Robert Eggers film.
This is not the kind of horror film that is jump scare after jump scare. There are a few decently employed ones, definitely, but it's much more about atmosphere.
God, this film was full of atmosphere, and I was eating that atmosphere up
Yes.
all throughout. I was so invested
Yes.
that I ignored the fact that it would be an over 2 hour long film. I really, really needed to go to for a week.
I think it might be my favourite Eggers movie so far. I know the man's only done 4.
I'm gonna have to think on it,
I think it is mine. I think this
but start the year off strong,
for me
movie wise for us.
it's more rewatchable than his previous 3, and that's just personal taste. But I would absolutely watch this again in a way that I wouldn't necessarily think to, rush to rewatch The Lighthouse again.
Yeah, Lighthouse is an intense experience.
Yes.
Same with so's The Northman.
Yes. And The Witch. They have elements of unpleasantness in all of them. But yeah, Nosferatu is great. Definitely recommend it. Please don't try and spoil it for yourself. Please don't be tempted to try and see what Skarsgård looks like in the makeup. Just leave it for the cinema experience.
There's a reason they've left it out of all the marketing, and it's a very, very smart decision.
Yeah.
And it adds to the mystery around the character as a whole. And more films should follow this example.
I totally agree.
So that was our quick review of Nosferatu. If any of you have seen it, please do let us know. Let us know what you think. What is your favourite of Robert Eggers' films? And what do you think he's going to do next? Because we know he has 2 scripts that he's currently working on where he's offered roles to Willem Dafoe for both of them that he's hoping to get made. So far, the film seems to be well received and is doing well. So I imagine he's going to be able to do whatever he wants next.
I'm already getting a little bit sick of Nosferatu being heralded as like, it's elevated horror, and it's, very quickly turning into one of those movies that critics are just
Loving.
bumming hard.
Yeah.
Is probably a much more eloquent way of saying that. It's already pissing me off a little bit. It's like, you don't need try and find a reason to enjoy it. It's a great film. You don't need to put
Regardless of the genre that it's in.
You don't need to say that it's elevated and give us that crap. It's a great film, but I really hope it does well. It already is doing well.
Thanks a lot, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.